Conversation, like where we go from here. And Dan, do you want to take stack again? Or count? I'm just
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Swap those two. 4. I'm sorry. 3, 4. Progressive stack. 5. I'm sorry. 7, 8. You're already on, Mark. Sorry.
Am I 4? Is anybody else?
You were 5.
Why don't you start over? Maybe I would
Let's start over.
let's start over. And you
number
progressive
Let's
stack.
start
One
over.
over here.
1,
Make me shut the number.
Yeah, have you
2,
say the number back?
Say your
Wendy.
number back.
3,
Wait, oh yeah, say your number back. That's a good
Say
one.
your number back.
4, 5,
4.
6, 7, 8, 9.
9. I was 6.
That's not 6 anymore. Now you're 10.
He redid it.
You need an 11.
I went far more progressive with the second stack.
You want to time this one?
11.
How long do people want to
two.
take for this
Number two.
discussion?
You're number 2.
Should we do 1 minute per person and we got up to 11?
We got up to 11.
So let's,
I'll take
This is
2
like the
minutes.
last leg of the...
this is where we decide how we move forward now. So we have like a good chunk of, what time is it?
I'll take 2 minutes.
Well, 2:30 and we want to, like, this is people's initial reaction to this kind of proposal. So let's give 1 minute to your reaction because then we'll come back to like, what are we actually going to do about it?
We want cameras on.
So far, okay.
Cameras?
I don't know.
Everyone okay with that?
It's in per person, right? So
Yeah, if you personally don't want the camera on, you just say so. What's your name?
James.
James. It seems like James would be willing to turn it off.
another one over here.
There's another gentleman over here.
Bowden's
He's with
filming.
me.
He's a crafty fellow, huh?
It's Bowen. He's with me.
Yeah.
Working together.
All right. Who's number 1?
I don't think that anyone ever, I don't know, I just never heard it in a discussion.
Mic check.
I check.
Or you could stand.
Just speak up if you can, please.
Oh, you're taking the chair away. Anybody realize that Albany housing is really building up around in the South End?
Around what?
In the South End. They're rehabbing and building all around us, and I see none of the community working on these buildings when they say it's for the community. So I would like to see us occupy. They got a $5 million building going up sometime, I don't know, in the next couple of years. South Tech, where Hudson Valley and all these different places is going to be. And they say it's for the community, but yet they're not involving the community. So I would like to see us occupy that.
Number 2.
Yeah, I don't know if this is anything we've been talking about, but I don't know if this is connected to anything we've been talking about, but National Grid is currently doing a lot of shut-offs
Mic check.
and sending out this.
Mic check. Do you mind if we mic check you?
Okay. All right.
This is National Grid.
National Grid. National Grid is currently sending out a lot of disconnect notices. There used to be a law that they couldn't shut off people's utilities during certain months.
There used to be a law that they couldn't shut off people's utilities during certain months.
So I don't know, for some reason, I don't know if they took away the law or what, but they're back to it again.
And I don't know if they took away the law or want to try it again.
So it becomes a cycle of having to go to social services, see if you can get money.
So it becomes a cycle of having to go to social services to see if you can get it turned back on again.
And then they'll put a hold on it for 45 days.
And then they'll put a hold on it for 45 days.
But if you try and make arrangements
To
to pay the bill yourself, that you have to go by what payment National Grid wants you to pay. There's no flex.
You have to go by what
I think in a cold climate like this, that there should be respite from shut-offs. And that this shouldn't be legal. I think something possibly can be done. I don't know what.
Okay.
I think something could be done around that. I actually heard that they're doing an action on that. Occupy Bronx is doing something very similar.
within neighborhoods. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but it sounds very.
Put that down. Put that down. Okay, so let's
Based
keep.
upon our process, how would we talk about something like that?
I'm just gonna keep writing down. Let's go through the stats. I'm gonna write down what everybody's saying, like the issue, if it's either something already listed or if it's not, and then I think we'll talk about where there's the most. We'll find out where there's the most energy, like what issues have the most energy among this group, and then we'll figure out next steps for how to move forward on that. But maybe we'll reach a decision today on like which issues have the most energy just by taking a kind of straw poll. If that works, the market will quick process.
Can we just twinkle after each proposal as a sort of semi-temperature check?
If people want to twinkle, yeah, go for it. Number 3.
That's me. I'm going to piggyback off what my sister said, but I wanted this to be a little bit more in depth. Dealing with homelessness, you can't hear me?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I couldn't hear you, but.
Dealing with homelessness and what's going on in this camp, I think it's essential for us to really look at, and by doing outreach, some of these abandoned buildings, especially I know one, it's a whole city block, Lexington Ave, shut down, abandoned houses. And I think we really need to, if we're going to get arrested doing something, I think we should get arrested by going and taking over these abandoned houses, which is going to bring a lot of attention to us, and getting these things in check, where these people in these neighborhoods who don't know what we're doing, what we're about, will see that we're stepping up, saying, listen, there's a problem here in this neighborhood, and we need to step it up and do some things with these abandoned buildings, turn them over to green efficiency technology, put vegetable gardens in the back, and just do things to get them involved in this movement. I feel that's very essential to what we're doing. That goes with outreach. Them by seeing us doing something, getting arrested in their neighborhood, something that's for them, they can come on board. So I think it's important for us to find out who owns these buildings, what we can do about taking over these buildings. Because in Seattle, I'm gonna end with this, they're going into the middle class and rich neighborhoods, and the buildings that are being foreclosed on, they're taking it over and putting homeless people in there. And you know these people don't want that. But it's bringing up a lot of attention, and I think we need to do some certain things like that, going into these areas and taking over their properties and putting people in there.
Information. Unfortunately, where we live, December is a terrible time to do that. It's not a good time to be
That's
doing
not
construction.
a point of information. That's a different thing.
Well,
So
okay. The climate that we live in does not make this easy.
I mean, you're debating whether it's a good idea or not. So
No, I'm
let's-
not. It's a great idea. I'm in full support.
Right.
But I think this is more of a long-term goal, and also a lot of these things fall under an umbrella here where people are not getting
Dave,
their
you're jumping
necessities.
stack, man.
Okay.
Let's keep going. I love you, Dave Ziegler. We're moving to number 4.
Okay.
Me.
Well, I think the
Elena, go!
He's occupied.
I am fried right now.
Go ahead,
So
Elena.
I make stickers, and I'm really excited about doing the like food supermarket direct action, going in there and putting stickers onto food that has really fucked up additives and whatnot in there. So I can definitely get the ball rolling on making the stickers, but maybe if we could get together some information on like what we would want to put and where. So I don't know if there should be a separate meeting for people who want to do that, or...
Yeah, I think there's 2 things that work, right? Like, you could go ahead and make stickers, and anybody interested could just go on and do that. If we want to make food, health, and food justice one of the issues we lift up as a group, then we'll come back to that and see if there's energy. Like, we'll figure out what are the 4 or 5 things there's most energy among a whole group to lift up. If that's one of them, we'll stick it in here. If not, anybody interested in just doing that awesome thing with you should come see you after this. Does that work?
Yeah. Check with legal. Just check in with legal so you know what
Yeah.
you might expect to happen.
Good
to
idea.
you. Not
Okay.
to do it. Just check with legal so you know, so they also know what we're doing. So
Okay.
that just in case.
But I told Dave he couldn't do that, so. Okay, so number 5. Just good.
No.
Mine is short. I just think it would be nice if we had business cards so that we could say, what do? You give them a
A business card.
On business.
I like that. It's cute. And then you can bring a friend whenever you come somewhere, so I can get more people.
Changing the world.
Number 6. Does anybody want to work on drafting up a business card?
I can do that. Oh, you can do that.
Who's doing that?
If she wants to do it.
Yeah,
Laura?
I can draw it, but I don't know how to make it. I'm not talented.
Online.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to work
Yeah, I
with
think
her?
I could do that.
Yeah. Okay. Was that Laura?
Yes.
Okay. Good, Laura. And you're drafting up the stickers. Okay. Number 4. What next? 6. Thank you.
Yeah, Paul. This isn't just Albany, but the one thing that gets me going the most is this expiration of the millionaire's tax for New York. I think that's an issue. Anyway, it's statewide. It ties in directly with all the congressional stuff, about debt versus other uses for the money, and it also leverages a lot of the other concerns that we have here about the money being available for teachers or education, various other things that tie in with what everybody else is interested in. Plus it's time limited. I think it expires at the end of the year, so there's slightly over a month on it. Maybe they can make it retroactive, but I think that's the kind of that's an important pressure, and people already know the issue in New York State, kind of, if they read the newspaper at all. So I think that's an important issue to be on. For all those reasons.
Number 7.
Going back to what we decided was kind of the root cause of a lot of the issues we're trying to address was corporatism. And I think many of us and each of us have come across information in recent years that points out a lot of the atrocities that big business does. And one of the reasons we're here was we're trying to at least raise awareness about these issues. So I think as individuals or groups, we should get together and find ways of bringing these things to light. The internet, unfortunately, is not going to do it for us because it's kind of self-selecting. You have to get this bold and in people's faces to a certain degree. You're not trying to be confrontational with individuals, but we need to find ways to get information to people. Like, you pick a business. Somebody had brought up last week. They know all these horrible things that Bath and Body Works does. Okay, throughout the world, and their idea was to maybe go drop leaflets all around Bath and Body Works, or post things up and stuff like that. I mean, it's just an idea, but getting these things out in the open, because unfortunately, as much information there is on the internet about these things that we can see and we see all the time, it doesn't get out to the general public because they're not looking for that on the internet. So you need to, be out in the open with these things, and any ideas people have or actions they want to do, we should probably work on that.
Number 8.
First, I want to support the ideas for local actions, especially around housing issues, foreclosures, evictions, homelessness. However, this isn't Occupy Binghamton or Occupy Albany, which happens to be the state capital. So part of our action component, in my opinion, should focus on state issues related to our main themes. And in particular, the millionaire's tax was suggested, and also the key instrument by which corporate wealth distorts the political process is campaign finance. So there is an active campaign for public financing of elections. We're now calling it voter-owned elections. I think that should be one component of our work.
Okay. Were you number 8?
Yes.
Number 9?
9, yes. 2 quick points. I think in terms of priority, I think the first speaker and Ira are right on the money, and for no other reason that at some point this outside space has to be parlayed into an indoor space, and it also reaches out to communities that have not been as involved, at least in these smaller occupations. So I think that's already been spoken about, but another point that Dylan has spoken about to some people, including myself, other people have mentioned it. If we're looking to nail the corporate personhood and the interstices between public and private, I would like to suggest the nanotech facility. It is legal money laundering. Public money goes in the front door, Intel's money goes out the back. I think that is a great thing to target. Alan Calieros makes over $800,000 a year. And we can't get a copy of his budget. There's no environmental rate. You can't check it. The only people that can check it is the state. It's completely non-transparent. The neighbors are not fans of it. And they also reach into, as a graduate student, they reach into the general fund and take graduate student money. That's why the humanities are no longer offered in the way that they were. I think that's another great target, but I think in terms of priority, Ira and the first speaker are, I think that would be more immediate.
Sandra.
Hi.
Wait, number 10.
I just want to say this is my first time at this meeting. I'm usually really active in political strategy, but I'm like really heartened and like it's awesome that there's so much concord between the stuff you guys have been talking about and what we've been talking about. There's almost like 100% overlap as far as like what the critical issues are. The one thing I was going to say, which is surprising to me, like if you look at the polls, like 70% of the country wants to do away with corporate personhood, but I think the last polls I've seen of recent that only like 29% agree with our position as Occupy Wall Street and the way we're manifesting it. So I think there's a real discord between what we're doing and like that's message is getting across to the general public, and I've heard other people talk about this. So one thing I think that would be great is if there's a lot of activity, like the stuff at the mall, like a lot of the sort of direct actions that are happening. If we can find ways to kind of connect that vertically to say like this is a symptom of this other problem, which is that corporations exert too much power in our democracy and then it's not functioning. So I think that we can find ways to connect those vertically. I think that would be kind of a really important thing. Like whenever there's a sticker, it should say like end corporate person at the bottom. So there's always that connection.
Like memes and symbols and statements that we can attach on the website.
Yeah. And then I get my 15-second overlap. And I think if we can, I'd really like to work out like a relationship between political strategy and this group, so that like we can kind of support, like because we've been doing the thinking about how we can specifically change these things proactively. So also maybe have links to solutions, like when we do stickers, say like visit this site and it talks about the specific action that we can take.
Was there a number 11?
Yeah, there's 11 and 12.
11?
Yeah, and we've got 13. We've got 14.
Okay, well let's close it at 14 because I think we need to get into so what are we going to do?
Yeah, 14.
Close at 14.
Who's 11?
11?
11, I'm 11.
How many minutes?
Yeah, I was going to raise the millionaire's tax too, and we did that, but it also connects us to labor, which I think is an extremely important thing that we're doing here. But and I also agree that we should have a lot of local focus, but we shouldn't forget about the national things. And again, I want to raise that this spring, NATO and the G8 will be meeting in Chicago in this country. They never meet together. They are meeting together to build war and the G8 nations. And I know that some of the occupations are thinking of doing an occupation there. So we should think about how we can tie into some of these national things. And trillions of dollars have been spent on these wars, and that's part of the problem that we're doing. And just for my final 15 seconds, I think even the ones that we can't lift up, the issues, especially issues like turning off people's electricity and so forth, we should put on a flyer and we should say, this is what we support as an occupation movement. Join us and help us fight for these things.
Dan, you had a point of information?
The G8's meeting in Chicago on May 15th. I'm going to be organizing a bike tour there.
Okay.
With Occupy Wall Street and Occupy Boston.
Yes, 15th
Also,
through the 19th.
number
there'll be
12.
An occupation of Chicago.
Who's number 12?
15th to the 22nd.
Yes.
I want to make sure Joe's done, because what he's saying is really important.
Are you done, Joe?
Yes, I'm done.
Yeah,
Okay,
I want him to, is that all, Joe? Because I want
He's
you to,
done.
it is, you sure? I don't
He
want
said.
to be disrespectful.
No, I'm done, Joe.
Okay. I just want to remind everybody about the survey I took here about the people who stay here, live here, and have been here from day one, their needs and desires. Brad contributed, he contributed, you contributed. These are the people that are here every day. If you're not here every day, you might not know about the survey as well as other people. Like Joe wanted, make sure you have in there no state layoffs. We've had enough. We don't need more tents on this side, And I really recommend that everybody go to the Troy Record and read the article. Many of you still haven't. And this is the voices of the people here. The last thing I wanted to say is I'm hoping you would support me in adding one thing. The one thing is this. I've been getting repeated reports of homeless people getting the shit kicked out of them by the police. and I think it's not an unfair thing to ask the state to address it, because that's completely inappropriate. And if I just had a temperature check, that do people agree with that adding to the list? Because I think that, homeless people should not get beat up and have no value and no rights because they're homeless. That makes it okay. It doesn't. And that's it.
Thank you. Number 12.
13.
13.
Dave, 13.
How about a national, if not international, 8-sheet newspaper? I happen to work for a paper called cometowoodstock.org.com, which is strictly bullshit commercial advertising, and it's dying. My brother's a printing broker, but he's very into the money, so.
So you're talking about a national newspaper?
Yeah, about the
So
occupation.
it sounds like that's part of the strategy that's also connected to meeting with national like getting on that conference call? No, separate? Okay. So anybody interested in working on that?
Shauna.
Point of information, Dan?
Occupy Wall Street put out the Occupied Wall Street Journal. They're in their 5th issue. Occupy Boston just put out their 1st issue of the Occupied Bostonian or something the Occupy Boston Globe. The Occupied Boston Globe. And, maybe we can buy a printing press. I actually know someone who's selling a printing press.
Oh yeah.
Okay. With 14? I can't count.
We have a newsletter. We have a newsletter. If people are interested in getting involved in it, it needs more people. So if you could give me contact information, I could get it to the person. I talked to him today, who has been behind putting this together. But more people are needed to have a good paper put together, and the more the merrier. More views, I think.
Okay, Drea, number 14.
Go ahead, sorry.
Times Union, we have a blog on the Times Union too. I don't know if anyone's aware of that, but we can contribute to that.
Can I clarify? Anyone can contribute.
Yes.
Wait, let's hear Drea.
Okay, so one of the issues that I would really like to start raising awareness to, one of the issues that I think is really important to start raising awareness about is the corporate sponsorship of school curriculum. So I have a few ideas of ways to start addressing it, but if anybody's interested in talking about it, great.
Point of process, General Assembly is supposed to start in 4 minutes. We do a temp check on extending this discussion by another 25 minutes and delaying GA. Do people want to stick with that? All right, cool. Then facilitation will delay GA until this can wrap up.
Thank you. All right, so that was closing of stack. So I think that we could probably pick a couple of things today that there's like general energy around working on that most people really want to see us move forward on. And then maybe we could come back and pick, like if we're going to take 5 things to lift up, maybe we could agree on at least 2 of them today and come back next week for the other 3 and hash it out so we don't get stuck in debates. Because I think there is some general, and again, like I think that we should be looking at like the goals we set out as like a roadmap for everything that we do. So when Dave, wherever you went, was talking about, educating people, for every issue we work on, we want to connect all the dots. So anything that we pick, if it's going to be housing issues, for example, we should be connecting that back to corporate personhood, because there's a direct connection, right? And that we should be educating folks about it, and maybe there's stickers we could make about that too, because stickers are fun. But also we talked repeatedly about bringing more people to the table. So what are the things that we're going to take on that will get more people to feel like they're part of Occupy? And also we talk repeatedly about that there's a lot of folks of color that don't feel like Occupy is their movement. And so what are the issues that we're going to take on that, and how do we take them on in a way that it's not like we're coming in and saying this is what we should be working on. So is that a point of information? So I'm going to put out a proposal and then people can respond. How's that? So I heard a lot of energy around the whole abandoned buildings, foreclosure, homeless issue, and I'm wondering if there's consensus on at least that cluster, that Occupy take that on and lift up the corporate personhood role in that instead of.
Can I ask, is there a possibility also adding into that affordable housing? Because our counties now house homeless people in hotels and shelters and pay rates higher than what they would pay if they were to have a mortgage.
Yeah.
So the county itself needs to be called out for what they do
Yeah.
to marginalize people.
So this is a big cluster of issues that also includes, as we're building affordable housing or affordable housing, who is getting hired on those jobs. So it's a whole cluster, but I think it all relates, and it's something that maybe is very relevant. So it seemed like there's consensus. I see a question. I'm just trying to think of what I'm trying to accomplish here real quick. So it seems like if we do want to all work on, take that on, we probably need a team of people to get together and research what all that, like to go over in detail what the different issues are, what the, like how they, meet with some people on different levels. So we need a door-to-door team that talks to people in the communities about these issues. We need to do some research, county level. We have a county legislator here who could give us some of that information. He's definitely, or is he here? He said county legislator, right? Doug?
Yeah. Doug is kind of.
He came, he left, but he's always here, and he's on our side. I'm gonna take so we need to do some research for that. So if we could, I'll take comments on us. I feel like such a dictator here. But so if we could take comments on us taking on this cluster of issues and then create a next step process around how to go about working on this cluster of issues, then we could bring it back to what else, or how are we going to get through the rest of this list and figure out what else we want to work on and how we move forward. But let's at least, by the close of this meeting, agree to a process around that cluster. Does that seem like a good idea to people? Is there anybody who doesn't like that? Any block? So yeah,
Two issues today?
let's see if we can get through. Yeah, is there another issue that seems to really resonate with everybody? Oh, I think the other one is just the millionaire's tax. It seems like if we do we have the local and we have the millionaire's tax as like the thing that there's. So point of process, there were 3 or 4. We have Mark, Arseny, and Jen.
Can you just go through the whole list very quickly?
I can go through the whole list, yes.
You just do
I'm
temp
sorry.
checks for all the things.
Temp checks for all the things. Yes, we should. I'm sorry. Okay. So I'm just pointing out that I saw residents around some of those. Okay. So here's what we had. We had housing, specifically who's doing the work to build the new housing, which I think we kind of agreed we can link with abandoned buildings, the issues of foreclosure, and affordable housing. So all those work in conjunction. Was there something else that I was missing? Electricity. Yeah. Okay, so we'll put those all together. So people who are interested in that cluster. We'll do one last temp check. Okay. Then next they have the food and health issues. What's in your food?
Does that include agriculture?
Good.
It
It should be broad, like the house.
If we were looking with that, like food rights, like food security, because, like food security, like food security, to feed ourselves.
Food justice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Factory farming.
Okay. So with this process, though, I think we could all probably. We'll keep going through the list. Okay. Then I have the millionaire's tax as a specific issue. Can somebody else also be by this person here? Okay. Cool. This thing, yeah, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, what are we doing? What's the scale? From the ground to here? I mean, how are we going to rate these?
Well, that's what. We're just doing this.
Okay. Yeah, no, I know.
I think, Steve Stickler said bringing corporate is power to light, but I think that is something we should do with any of the issues we take on rather than as a separate issue. Are people comfortable with that?
Yes. However, with the holidays going on right now, I feel like it's a good time to capitalize on the opportunities that
So
present.
let's say mass consumerism as an issue, because there was a lot of resonance around food. So mass consumerism, this is all the mall shopping and the don't buy things and.
Oh yeah. Can I have a question on that? Just a quick question. Does employment reform go in with this?
I think that it's separate from the mass consumerism. But we can, as we cut the housing bubbles of cluster of stuff, employment in how it relates to all of that.
No, I was thinking like the credit checks for employment,
So that's a separate
pre-income
issue.
requirement.
That's a separate issue.
That's it. That would be separate.
Then we have voter-owned elections. Is there voter-owned elections?
Are we advertising for now or?
We're just this is not a final, we're just getting, our city has to read through the whole list, we don't vote, but we're not getting successful. Hold on. So, yeah.
It's sort of stepping back, but so I wanted to comment, but it's not really about how we go forward with the group. About and I wasn't at the last meeting, so I'm sorry if it was discussed through. But I think that the idea of tying our issues that we're going forward with into corporate person, that maybe a better avenue would be tying in solutions with the problems. Yeah, like working groups that deal with the problems and solutions rather than the problems and tying it into naming the larger problem. Because I know it's taking a step back, but I think going forward with talking about working groups, I don't know, it changes the tone of going forward.
Okay. Point of process for me, can I call in a helper, facilitator? Yeah? Cool. Okay. So, I don't know, at this moment, I want to continue to just go through the list. The temperature checks don't mean we're going yay or nay on things, but I just want to run through the whole list.
Point of information. I just want to say the temperature checks don't mean that we say yay or nay. Like, I support election reform, but I don't think that should be one of the central issues. So this should just be for the ones that you think are the really central issues. I think that's what we're saying, that the few issues that we want to focus on.
I would like to say, in terms of the food issue, like crafting your food kind of goes with math versus our food has been so nasty, and solution would be related to
And I think that all of these are connected. Like, you could connect every problem we have. And that's again why the corporate personhood is really important, because it's the overarching theme. We should also offer solutions. But I think we all agree that we need to call it the problem, because that's why we're here.